Good morning. Okay, so today is section 9, verses 1 through 7. And anyways, in this, let's use our wheel. April 1829, Harmony for Oliver Cowdery, and it's concerning a process of revelation. So anyways, Oliver Cowdery is Joseph's scribe. He wants to translate. The Lord has promised that he can if he's willing, and he's anxious to do so. So he starts to translate. It's a failure. He can't do it. And this is the revelation given as to why he failed. So in the companion, it gives a quote by their scholars, Stephen Robinson and H. Dean Garrett. They say that it is important to understand that the contrast described here between a burning of the bosom and a stupor of thought applied specifically to the process of translation. The Lord had previously instructed Oliver in other ways that the Spirit is manifested. These other descriptions did not mention any stupor of thought. Therefore, it would be unwise to insist that these verses be understood as defining how the Holy Ghost must always work in every person's life. Which I thought was interesting, because whenever you're seeking instruction from the Lord, these verses are brought up. Either there shall be a burning in your bosom, or there shall be a stupor of thought. Sorry, my nose itches. These scholars are saying that this applied only to the work of translation and can't be blanketed as to how you receive revelation from the Holy Ghost in every aspect of your life. And I think we can all attest to that fact, that we don't always have a burning in our bosom or a stupor of thought. We receive revelation in a variety of different ways, and as President Nelson has taught us, we need to learn how we specifically, individually, hear him. Now, there's some interesting things which I've come across in my studies, but I think that's all from this one for today. Now, in the Ludlow, let's see. Okay, so Oliver had been called to serve as scribe for Joseph Smith, who had been given the responsibility for translating the Book of Mormon. It was the Lord's desire that Oliver continue with his work as scribe until the translation of the Book of Mormon was finished. Then the Lord promised Oliver that he would give him power to assist in the translation of other records. Oliver became impatient and tried to translate on his own. The remainder of the revelation is the explanation of the Lord to Oliver concerning this failure. So, again, Oliver is forgetting his role, which is very easy for all of us to do. The Lord promised that he could translate records. He could. If he was faithful and diligent, he could translate records. But not the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon was for Joseph Smith. That was his responsibility, to translate that. Oliver just got impatient, and, he was human, just like the rest of us. All right, but here's something interesting, okay, that I didn't know. In verse 2, it talks about other records. The Lord told him that he was to continue as scribe until the translation of the Book of Mormon was completed, and that there were other ancient records to come forth, and that he might have the privilege of translating these at some future day, if he would remain faithful. So, I'm now going to read you a quote from Joseph Fielding Smith. It says, "Later there came into the hands of the prophet other records which had to be translated, such as the Book of Abraham. But these records of ancient inhabitants on this American continent were not translated. It is possible that some of them might have been translated had the people received the Book of Mormon with full purpose of heart and had been faithful to its teachings. This was the promise the Lord made through Mormon. He said he would try the faith of the people, and if they were willing to accept the lesser things, i.e., the Book of Mormon, then he would make known to them the greater things. That we have failed in this is very apparent. We have not accepted the revelations in the Book of Mormon, neither in the Doctrine and Covenants, with that faith and willingness to know the will of the Lord, which would entitle us to receive this greater information." He goes on, but that part I thought was very interesting. The lesser and the greater things. I mean, we all know that there are greater things, and the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon has a great many things in it. And, when are we going to get these things? It's based upon our faith, the faith of the people. Just something to think over and mull over. But here's some more good stuff that I never knew. And it's a little bit long, but I'm going to read it because it's cool. Okay. When Joseph got the plates, the angel instructed him to carry them back to the hill Cumorah, which he did. Oliver says that when Joseph and Oliver went there, the hill opened, and they walked into a cave in which there was a large and spacious room. He says he did not think at the time whether they had the light of the sun or artificial light, but it was just as light as day. They laid the plates on a table. It was a large table that stood in the room. Under this table there was a pile of plates, as much as 2 feet high, and there were altogether in this room more plates than probably many wagon loads. They were piled up in the corners and along the walls. The first time they went there, the sword of Laban hung upon the wall, but when they went again, it had been taken down and laid upon the table across the gold plates. It was unsheathed, and on it were written these words: "This sword will never be sheathed again until the kingdom of this world become the kingdom of our God and his Christ." I take the liberty of referring to those things so that they will not be forgotten and lost. Now you may think I am unwise in publicly telling these things, thinking perhaps I should preserve them in my own breast, but such is not in my mind. I would like the people called Latter-day Saints to understand some little things with regard to the workings and dealings of the Lord with his people here upon the earth. I could relate to you a great many more, all of which are familiar to many of our brethren and sisters. And that's from Brigham Young. Now, not that I can recall have I ever heard of a cave in the hill Cumorah with many wagon loads full of plates and records. However, I think that's pretty cool. The other day when I was talking about where did Joseph get this scroll from John, where did he get that scroll? Obviously from the Cave of Records. Obviously. I don't know if they talk about that in the podcast, but I think that's an interesting fact. I think that's an interesting story. I think it's an interesting image, and you're always wondering, oh, the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon. Oh, what does it say? What's in there? Can we handle it? The answer is probably no. But then you hear about a cave full of records, full of plates, and you're like, what's in there? Can I handle that? Obviously not. But at some time, these records will come forth. Whether in this life or the millennium, I don't know. I can't say. It's just a very cool image that I think has been left out of church history. Anyways, Moving on with studying it out in your mind. Meh. I don't know. No. 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 Alright. None of that I wanted to share. Anyways. So that is section 9, verses 1 through 7. I have to go to work. I will talk to you later.